Biruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Mem Zayin Amud Beis. Starting with Daf Mem Zayin Amud Aleph, 5 lines from the bottom. The Gemara continues its discussion of whether we say hoyil or not. Hoyil, since, means that since I can then say the potential, the possibility exists, it may change the status of the present halacha. And therefore, Rabbah says we say hoyil. Rav Chizda argues and says we do not say hoyil. Rav Chizda now asks a question on Rabbah on the concept of saying hoyil. Sholach le Rav Chizda le Rabbi. Rav Chizda sent the following question to Rabbah: Biyad Rav Acha bar Rav Huna, in the hands of Rav Acha bar Rav Huna. Mi amrinan hoyil. Do we say indeed the concept of hoyil, since if the possibility then would change, therefore the halacha shall change as well? V'hotnan, behold, it states in the following Mishnah: Yesh chayresh telem echod v'chayev maleh mishum shmona lavin. There's a person who will then plow one furrow on Shabbat, on Yontif, and he can be chayiv shmoina, 8 different lavin, 8 different sets of malchus. Hacharesh b'shor v'chamor. He plows with a shor and a chamor. That's a combination of 2 different species doing malacha. That's one lav. V'hein mukdashim, and they are mukdashim. They're consecrated, which means the shor is consecrated as a carbon. The chamor is consecrated to bedek habayis. So that's another 2 different lavin. That's 3 altogether. V'kilayim bekerim. And we're talking about a field that is a kilayim, an admixture of a vineyard and, let's say, wheat, barley. On Mamzayin on base at the top. V'shvis. And it is the 7th year, which means that year the field has to be laid fallow. And he's doing malacha, he's doing plowing. B'yontif, on Yontif itself, lo sase kol malacha. Kohen v'nazir abeis hatuma. And it's a kohen who's also a nazir on a beis hakvaros, which both a kohen and a nazir is prohibited to then be metame himself. So there's a total of 8 lavin when a person then plows his field on this telem on Yontif. V'i amrinon hoyil, asks now Rav Chizda to Rabbah on the concept of hoyil. If we do say hoyil, then achareisha loy lechayev hoyil v'chazi lekisui dam tzipor. He should not be chayev for being choresh on Yontif, because he may then need that dirt to then do kisui adam, to cover up the blood. There's a chiyuv midiaraisa to cover up the blood of the chaya and the oif when one is shoichet them, to take then dirt and cover it up. So when he plows the field, he will then have dirt available to then go ahead and put it onto the dam. So therefore, if you would say hoyil, he should not be chayiv for being chayresh on Yomtiv. We're talking about stones, these kurzolos stones, whereby these are things that are not going to be then fitting to use for kisui hadam. Ask the Gemara, but ru'uyas lekoitshon, but you can crush them. And if you crush them, then they will be then viable to then cover up the blood. Still ask the Gemara, v'ketisha b'yomtiv mishori, can you go ahead and crush these stones on Yontif? That's a malach of toichin. Gemara says, you can then crush them in a way of a shinui, which would not be then a malacha deraisa, it would only be aser midirabanan, whereby that would be a viable thing to then do. Says the Gemara, betsunama. We're talking about where it is from a sela, from a stone itself. That's the type of ground that we have. And therefore, he is oiver, the malacha of charesh on Yontif. Ask the Gemara, b'tsunma bar zeriah, if it's this type of ground, which is of a sela, of rock, is that something that's plowable that you can go ahead and then plant? Gemara says, Sunma milamala v'ofar tichuach milamata. It's on the top surface, this sela, this type of stone, but underneath it lies soft dirt. Says the Gemara, then v'teibukle mishum ofar tichuach. Then he should be over from ofar tifuach. That means that the ofar tifuach itself, that should be then the thing that when he plowed, he can use that offer tichuach to then use for kisui hadam, whereby again he should not be chayiv for the malach v'charisha on yontif, because we would say hoyel, and hoyel, since he would need that he would need that dirt to cover up the dam. Therefore, it's not a malacha that he's going to be liable for. Elo marmar barav ashi betina. Rather, we're talking about sticky mud. And therefore, it's not fitting for Kisui Adam. Ask the Gemara, that can't be the case, because Vetina bar Yirmiyahu, is Tina also something that can be then planted? Certainly not. Answers the Gemara, you're right, b'mislinuta. We're talking about b'msunta, which is wet type of mud, which is, yes, used for Zriya, for planting, and it is something that cannot, however, be used for Kisui Hadam. So therefore, it's not a kasha on Rabba's Shita that we do say the concept of choyel, because over here, this that states that there's 8 different lavin would be true even according to him, because there's no concept of saying choyel over here as well. So Abai now asks on Rabba again, who says choyel. Hamevashel gid hanoshe bechalav b'yamtif v'oichloi loike chamesh. A person who cooks a gid hanoshe, that's the sciatic nerve, which is something that is prohibited to be eaten, to be consumed. So he cooks this sciatic nerve, this gid hanoshe, in milk, bechalav, in milk, and it's on yontif, and he eats it. So we say he's chayav 5 different sets of malchus, as follows. Loike mishum mivashil gid b'yontif. He's cooking a gid on yontif. The gid hanoshe, since it's prohibited to be consumed, therefore he's not allowed to then cook it on yontif. Only that which is fitting on yontif to be cooked can be cooked, and therefore there's an isser of bishul on yontif when he cooks the gid. And loike mishum oichel gid, he gets a set of malchus for eating the gid hanoshe, which over here is prohibited. V'loike mishum mevashel basar bechalav. He also has a separate lav for cooking basar together with chalav. The gid hanoshe, according to this man, the Omer holds, is basar. V'loike mishum oichel basar bechalav. And he gets malchus for eating a combination of basar bechalav. V'loike mishum havara. And he gets a 5th set of malchus for being over the lav of havara, because here he is actually making a flame, which again on yontif is prohibited to be done in such a situation, because here he's using the flame for a gid hanoshe, which is off limits. So therefore it has no purpose for yontif. So in addition to the malacha of bishul, he has also a malacha of havara. So there's a total of 5 malchus. Asks Abai v'i amrin hoyel, if indeed we do say hoyel like you want to claim, Rabba, then havara loy lechayev. Then you should not be chayev for havar, the 5th lav of kindling a flame. Hoyel dechazi leilit sarkoi, since he could use that flame for tzarech, for a proper purpose, potentially. Therefore, we can say that he should not be chayev for the havara either. Omar lei, Rabba would respond back to Abaye, apik havara va'ayel gid hanoshe shel nevela. Take out the 5th lav of havara and instead put in that he's eating a gid hanoshe of nevela. So the 5th lav is that he's eating nevela in addition to the gid hanoshe, but he's eating nevela. That's a separate lav in itself. I asked the Gemara, if you're going to take out havara and put in nevela, Vatani Rabbi Chia taught on this brayso loikin shtayim al achilosoi v'sholosh al bishuloi. The 5 that comes out that he's over the 5 lavin is a combination of 2 of eating and 3 of cooking. That means 2 of eating the gid hanoshe and 3 of the cooking. So that was very good when it counted havara as part of the cooking, because the third one was for bishuloi. But the if you want to say that, take out the havara and put in the nevela, sholosh al achilos mi boile, then it would come out to be then 3 and 2, 3 achiloso and 2 of bishuloi, because we're talking about an additional lav of nevela. So that would bump up the achilav of 3 from 2 to 3 lavin, and take down from 3 bishuloi, which included the havara, and bring it down to 2. And that's not how Rav Chia taught the Raisa. Elo afik havara, rather, therefore you have to take out havara and ayil atse muktzah, and put in atse muktzah. Ask the Gemara, muktzah deraisa he? Is muktzah deraisa? We're talking about taking wood, which was set aside not to be used for Yontif, and now he used it for Yontif, for his flame, to cook the gid hanoshe. Ask the Gemara, that's going to be a malacha de'araisa? Answer the Gemara, amalein, yes. It states in the Pasuk, in regards to muktzah, it says, v'haya bayam hashishi. It is on the 6th day, it will be on the 6th day, referring to Erev Shabbos. V'heichinu es asher yaviu, and they will prepare that which they will bring. Which means there is a hachana of the foods that are going to be used. That's what the Torah says. And the Torah then warns from the following verse, so we see that indeed muktzah is deraisa. Abaye then turns to Rabbah and says, but you, Rabbah, yourself said the following. You said, Rabbah, that I asked a question from Rav Chisda, and some say that it was that you asked the question from Rav Huna. Hey, vise me ofar, a person who brings a seh from a far off type of pasture where it was grazing, the animals were grazing. V'shachtu tomi biyom toiv mahu, and then he used that animal that was grazing from a far off pasture, which means that it was set aside not to be used for a korban. It wasn't meant to be used at all, because it was so far away outside the yishuv, and they brought it in, and they then would use it for a korban tamid. A korban tamid is a communal korban which is brought in the morning, shachris, and also ben ha'arboyim. Can he do that on Yantav and use such an animal that was muktzah? That was your question, Rabbah, to either Rav Chisda, or the other version was to Rav Huna. Ve'at amris lon, and you told us that the response that they gave was as follows. Amar li Allah. This is what he said in regards to that question. He brought a pasuk. Now this pasuk, he brought a pasuk to darshan the pasuk. This is a pasuk from Yechezkel, and it states, "V'seh achaz min atzoyim min hamasayim mimashki Yisrael." So he now darshans the pasuk. Se teaches me v'loy ha-bechor. Since se is either male or female, so it excludes a bechor which is only male. Achas, which is one, which implies it's standing alone. V'loy ma'asir, to exclude that which is always coming from every 10th animal, a group. Min hatzoin, from the tzoin, it's emphasized from the tzoin, a part of the tzoin. V'loy hapalgus, not every part of the tzoin. That means a tzoin, which is sheep, there's different stages. The first year is a keves. The 13th month of the animal is called a palgus. After that, it's now considered an ayil when it has the second year. So it's coming to exclude min hatzoin, v'loy hapalgus, not to be including a palgus, that which is living in the 13th month. Min hamosayim, the pasuk goes on to say, and this is now leaving the animal korbanos, and now talking about libations, nisachim. Min hamosayim, from the 200, what is it referred to? Min moisar shtei meyois, from the additional 200, shenishtayer babor, that remains in the bor, in the vat of the wine. Mikan, that means to say that the the libations can be taken from a vat, even if the libations is coming from wine that is prohibited, but if it's mixed with that which is permissible of 200, then it's going to be valid for Nesachim. And therefore, from here we learn out orla, the grapes that were used to make, the grapes of orla that were used to make wine, even though that is off limits, it's botel b'masayim if it's in such a vat that has 200 kenegda. Umimashke Yisrael, the last part of the verse that we're now darshaning, says Mimashke Yisrael, from the feast, the party of Yisrael, teaching min hamuter the Yisrael, that which is fitting to be eaten by Yisrael. Mikan omru ein mevin nisachim min hatevel. Therefore, we learn out that nisachim cannot be brought from tevel, that which was not meistered out and taken truma from. Ad kan, the drasha that Rabbah brings back from either Rav Huna or Rav Chizda when he asked his question. Yochol, he goes on to say, I might think lo yavi min muktzah. I might think that I cannot bring also that which is coming from the muktzah, an animal from muktzah. Amris matevel miyuchad she'isir gufoi goram loy af kol she'isuroi gufoi goram loy. Just as tevel is miyuchad because it itself is intrinsically osir, and that therefore is going to be prohibited. Again, tevel that's miyuchad she'isura gufoi garam loy. So then af kol she'isura gufoi garam loy. It has to be something that's intrinsically aser. Yatzim in muktzah she'ein isur gufoi garam loy eli isur davar acher garam loy. To the exclusion of muktzah, because it in itself is not intrinsically aser. This animal is not aser. It's only aser because of the isur of Shabbos, and therefore the response is that it would be mutter. Now asks Abai the question on Rabbah, the Amris Isser Muktzah Derais, and if you going to say that indeed Muktzah is an Isser Deraisa, that's what you wanted to maintain, Rabbah. Mali Isser Gufa, Mali Isser Davracha. What does it make a difference if it's intrinsically Osir, or if it's only something that's causing from the side, something that's Osir because it's an Isser Shabbos? Hooray, if it's an Isser Deraisa, we are already told before that you cannot take anything other than that which is mutter li Yisrael. So therefore, this is not mutter to Yisrael. Ve'oid, and further, Abaye challenges Rabbah from this teaching, you yourself told me when a person does several malachos in one forgetful period, he's going to be chayiv for each and every one of those malachos. Let's say he does it b'shoigeg. So you're going to be chayiv several korban chatos for all of those different malachos because they're separated. There's considered to be that they are chiluk malachos Shabbos. But when it comes to Yontif, if a person does do malachos, different malachos of Yontif, let's say he does it b'mezid, he will only be chayiv one set of malchus. So you yourself said that we don't separate chalek the Yontif, and yet over here you're saying there's more than one Isser of Yontif. In other words, the cooking of Yontif, that's one Isser, as well as what you're suggesting is also the Muktzah of Yontif. Elo apik havara va'ayel atzei asher. Rather, you have to take out havara of the 5 different lavin that we mentioned before and put in atzei ashera, that he's using then the wood that is used for avodah zarah. V'azarosei mihacha, and the prohibition, the warning that Torah gives is from here. You shall not cleave your hands to anything that is from avodah zarah. He challenged the Abai and says that can't be it, that we're putting in the atzei ashera as the 5th, because then it will be 6 lavin. Why? There's an additional lav which would carry with it malchus, that you should not bring a toyeva avodah zarah into your house. So therefore, getting use from this atzei asher would give a 6th set of malchus, and we stayed over here. There's only 5. Elo apik havara, take out havara, va'ayil atzei hektish, and instead put in atzei hektish, wood that was consecrated. And its warning from the Torah, its lav is from here. Va'asherehem tisrifun ba'esh. You shall burn it in the fire. Lo sa'asun kein la'Hashem lokechem. You should not do for Hakadosh Baruch Hu, your God, and therefore by using that consecrated wood, that itself would be the fifth lav.